In 1889, Van Gogh painted a masterpiece, Starry Night. 131 years later, I attempted to replicate it. Only, I don't paint. This is the American dragon, I think. Circa 2008. So, don't judge. But let's just say my painting abilities haven't improved since then. I don't paint. I cross-stitch. This is how I cross-stitched Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. My rendition is made up of 9,790 stitches. It measures 195 by 150 millimeters, making it roughly a 1:5 scale replica of the original. Eight of its 12 colors were just different shades of blue. Here we have a superfluous line graph to represent the ballsy evolution of the color count in my cross-stitch campaign. As you can see, we have a bit of an exponential trend going on here. And the pattern was... it was daunting. Agreeing to this is something akin to signing your death warrant, only in the comfort of your own home. I started by penciling the border of my mini Starry Night onto some Aida fabric. Stitching the first few stitches of a project is always exciting. I'd never cross-stitched such a complicated piece before, so I was kind of nervous, but I was eager to see if I could do it. The first floss colour I used was Maxi Mouline's number 810, a dark green, which I spattered about in the foreground. I stitched this project with 4 strands. This made my stitches thick and gave the cross-stitch artwork a delectable carpet texture. Once the green layer was done, I used its stitches as reference points for the rest of my stitching. If the pattern is the road map, then every little stitch you make becomes a road sign or landmark, if you will. Using number 852, the brown floss, I filled in that giant tree to the left, and to the right the French countryside and the village of
Saint-Rémy-de-Provence.
With number 548, the fair shade of blue, I began the toughest part, the night sky. This project involved a lot of counting, checking, recounting, and double-checking. There were only a few minor setbacks here, but we won't talk about them for the sake of my sanity. The addition of number 551, a dark blue, made the sky start to look very pretty. With number 918, I gave the artwork a silvery tinge. Although I tried to stitch my stitches neatly and uniformly, I quickly abandoned that when I realized just how difficult it was to actually keep track of so many colors and put the stitches in all their right spots. Hence why my stitches look messy. But it's actually a metaphor for my life. Number 615, a teal, added an element of warmth to the sky. Then it was time to put the star into Starry Night. This yellow was Maxi Mouline's number 826. That brings us to the mistake. Today's lesson is on the importance of buying your threads online, or if you insist on going to your nearest dealer, aka haberdashery, Make sure your thread color selecting companion / chauffeur isn't colorblind. I tried to pick floss colors that matched the original artwork, but my options were limited. It didn't help that I also don't think well under pressure. In my defense, I was rushing to get supplies before the start of quarantine. This beige, number 886, was probably the furthest from the intended color. Rather unfortunate. If you squint and close one eye, closing the other eye is optional, it could pass as the silvery blue it's supposed to be, or at the very least a light orange, which would fit the burning star vibe. Next was this dark grey, number 903. With it I stitched more of the foreground. The darkest blue, number 554, formed the rolling hills of the French countryside, and finally made the foreground discernible as a countryside. Never mind if you can't make out that this is a village. It's called Starry Night, not Starry Village. And it's definitely not called Starry.
Saint-Rémy de Provence.
Number 542 was a pale blue that highlighted the swirls of the night sky nicely. With that layer done, there was only one more colour to stitch. I used number 612, a light blue, to fill in all the gaps that were left open, and I finished my Starry Night cross-stitch artwork. Look how gorgeous it looks. How long did this take to stitch, you ask? Well, the time I spent with a needle in my hand actually stitching, not including all the time spent counting, took about 50 hours. If you want a more accurate representation, it took 26 days. Thanks for watching.